Selling your online business is a completely life-changing event and every entrepreneur's dream. But most never get a deal done because their business isn't positioned the right way. And it doesn't take a ridiculous, crazy overhaul to make your business worth 7 or 8 figures. It takes a few key tweaks to go from a little business that you get asked about at Thanksgiving to a 7 or 8 figure enterprise that investors are drooling over and that are climbing over each other to write you a check for. If you don't know me, my name's Ben Zogby, and I went from a chemical engineer to a little online business owner to achieving a 7-figure exit. And I help business owners like you nail their dream exit by working smarter. If you've ever thought about selling your online business, I'm going to give you the exact blueprint right now to not only achieving a 7 or 8 figure valuation, but also, more importantly, getting investors excited to write you that check. So get out a pen and paper. I'm not screwing around here. I'm not going to give you any fluff. We're going to get right down to business. So most people don't know that there's 3 steps that you have to do before selling your business that's really going to determine whether or not someone's going to be interested in writing you a check for your business and how big that check is going to be. And so if you don't nail these 3 things, going to the market with your business could result in no interest, and it could result in, nobody ending up buying your business. So it's really important, if you're thinking of selling your business, or if you're thinking about one day selling your business, that you nail these 3 things. And the third one is the most important here. But if you're doing this step-by-step process, just realize that it can take between 30 and 365 days. The sooner you start this, the better. So if you're someone who's running a business right now, I would recommend you start this today, or at least the first couple steps today. And by the end of these 3 steps, we're going to be ready for what I like to call day 0. So day 0 is the bridge between you owning your business and you transitioning to go sell your business. A lot of people think that selling your business begins on day 0. So you wake up one day, you decide you want to sell your business, you go list, you go find a buyer, and then you pitch to them, and then they write you a check. So while yes, that is true, and that is part of the process, that is just the back end of selling your business. And there's a lot of prep work that goes into pre-day 0 that a lot of people don't do. And for that reason, a lot of people don't sell their business. So if you don't know me, my name is Ben Zogby. I have a 7-figure exit. I sold my business in 2023 for $1.8 million. I went through this entire process. I've also purchased a business, so I understand how this process works from both the seller side and the buyer side. And I also help business owners prepare for their dream exit and achieve their dream exit. And this is what I do full time. I wake up every day and I help people sell their businesses, which is really fun. It's really rewarding, and it gives me a little bit of context on what I'm talking about here. So you can assure that these methods are tried and true. It's not some guinea pig method that hasn't been tested. This is the blueprint if you want to sell your business. So just realize that throughout this video, if you don't meet these criteria yet, don't panic. Don't close out of the video just because you don't meet these criteria. They're very easy to hit. It's just about doing the correct things. And most of these things take minutes, honestly. So if you're not doing these things already, it's no big deal. You just want to make sure you start to do them. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand how to prepare your business for sale. You're going to understand how to make your business valuable to someone else so that it can be sold. This is a really big piece that a lot of people don't get right. And then you're going to become ready to sell your business. So these are all important, but number 3 is really the number 1 thing that you got to do. So make sure you watch to the end of the video, because you're going to get step-by-step actionable guidelines that you can start doing today if you're an online business owner to prepare your business for your dream exit. I'm talking 7, 8 figures. It's possible, it's doable. I've done it, it's been done. I've helped people do it. It's not a pipe dream. It's really not if you do these things. So let's get right into it. So this video is just going to focus on the front side here. There's going to be a whole separate video for the back side once your business is ready to go, the whole process and nailing that process down to get the max value for your business. But for right now, we're going to talk about these 3 concrete steps that you got to take if you're owning a business right now to be able to make it sellable for the maximum value to the right buyer. So the first step here is to make your business sellable. Now, what does that mean, making a business sellable? So the goal of this step, and this usually takes the longest, the goal of this step is to transform your business from something that makes you money into something that generates cash flow regardless of the owner. So that may sound simple, and it is simple, but it's not easy. A lot of times it's not easy. And the point of doing this is so that when we go to the market with our business, it's attractive because of the systems that we've built. Anyone can go out there and generate cash flow. But if that cash flow isn't transferable to a new owner, your business isn't going to be worth someone else buying it. And nobody's going to write you a check for it. Nobody's going to take interest in it. So you got to make sure that the value you've created for yourself is transferable to another owner. And there's concrete ways to do this, and we'll go over these right now. So there's 6 keys to making your business transferable to someone else. The first one here is just to eliminate key man risk or bust risk. Now I like to say if your business has a lot of bust risk, if anyone on your team, including you, gets hit by a bus and your business is cooked, right? So if your business can't survive the removal of one employee or you, then it's not going to be transferable to a new owner. So you got to make sure that if you have stuff that you do every day that's core to the business's success, that you document that stuff, that you put it into an SOP, that you have it written down somewhere, and it's learnable by other people. So if your whole business is in your own head, that's not transferable. A lot of bust risk there. If the whole business depends on your personality, it's not transferable. A lot of bust risk there. So for example, when I sold my business, it was heavily dependent on my personality for a long time. I was the person making content. I was the person in the videos. I was basically the person that people were buying for a lot of time. So it took me quite a bit of time to transfer the concentration around my personality to a more faceless content system. So instead of me making videos, I did a lot of voiceovers. So I do a screen recording with my voiceover. And then eventually we started incorporating other voices in. We incorporated AI voices in. So it was a gradual transition into a different kind of content that could be produced by any owner. This is particularly relevant if you have a social media strategy that depends on your personality. And the reason I put this first is because this is going to take the most time. I wouldn't try to rush and do this in, a very short amount of time because your audience isn't going to be ready for the transition. So make sure you take your time with this and you really make sure you nail this. The next step here is, you want to build systems that are valuable independent of the person that's running them. So anyone out there on the planet can go and build a business that makes them money. But what gets investors excited is systems. So smart investors with a lot of money buy systems that make money. They don't buy cash flow, right? They could go and put their money into anything that cash flows positively. It's not about the cash flow. It's about finding systems that work and are scalable. So if your systems are scalable and they're transferable, you get the best chance of doing a big deal and doing a big deal quickly. Next is you want to ramp down your daily responsibilities. So in anticipation of you being removed from the systems, you want to make sure that anything that you do on a day-to-day basis is either automated or micro-delegated. So micro-delegations are a really powerful tool. And this is just incrementally adding small little details to your team's daily responsibilities. If you have to give them a slight pay bump, it's probably worth it. But anything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, if you can decrease that quote unquote balance sheet of what you're doing every day, then you have a much higher chance of successfully transferring that business to someone else. Remember, investors are buying your business for the systems and the cash flow. They're not buying a job for themselves. So if a buyer thinks that they're going to have to do all these things just to keep the business afloat, right? Take on your daily responsibilities just to keep the business afloat, the business is going to be a lot less attractive to them versus if the business is hands off. If you're doing it pretty passively, you don't have a ton of input every day, and they know that they can just come in and tweak small things about the business to get it on the trajectory that they want it to be on. Much more attractive to them if that's the case. The next thing to take care of here in the business prep category is you want to delegate authority and decision making. So if you're the one that's making all the decisions, all the creative decisions, if every little decision has to flow through you, you may have a scalable business that's transferable, but you don't have an autonomous team that's going to be able to work with a new owner, unless that owner is very, very briefed on all the decision-making processes. So you want to make sure that you trust your team with the decision-making. And if you don't, then I would do one of two things. I would either sit with them and make sure they start becoming comfortable making decisions and make them understand that they are gaining authority to make those decisions. Obviously, make sure that decisions are sound. Or you want to replace them. If your team can't make the decisions correctly that you need them to make and everything has to flow through you, it may be worth trying to replace those people with either automation systems or with people that are capable of making those decisions. Delegated authority and decision making makes your business a lot more valuable and a lot more transferable. The next bullet here is you want to be able to test your business independence. So for example, when I was thinking of selling my business and when I was preparing my business for sale, I went on vacation for a couple weeks and the business, it really didn't do well because I wasn't there. I didn't go on vacation to test my business per se, but I got a good amount of insight from the way the business operated without me to show me that it wasn't quite ready for sale. So if you can take your hands off the business and the business can run by itself and the business doesn't lose any steam, doesn't lose any revenue, then you know it's a business that's transferable to a new owner. And that's really important. So you want to test your business's independence before listing it for sale. And then the final thing here is you want to prioritize systems and growth. If you can show that a business is growing month over month in the 12 months leading up to you transferring it to a new owner, you're going to get a much higher level of excitement from prospective buyers, and you're going to get a much higher valuation. Investors are a lot more willing to pay big money for growing businesses. So if you can show month over month, not only is your revenue and your profit growing, but all the key metrics of your business are growing as well. Your traffic, your clicks, your customer is either staying steady or going down throughout that process. You want to be able to show that all of your KPIs are improving on a month-to-month basis up until the time you list and up until the time you sell. So these are the 6 keys to preparing your business for sale. Now keep in mind that a lot of these things and most of these things are going to take more than a couple weeks to implement. You shouldn't rush any of these. And if you're sitting here and you say, Ben, well, all these things are already implemented in my business, these are all true about my business, then great. You don't have to spend 12 months building them into your business. And if you sit here and say, Ben, well, these aren't going to take too long. All I have to do is make a couple phone calls, have a couple meetings, message people on Slack to get these things done, then great. You can do it in a week. You can do it in 30 days. I just want to make sure that you aren't rushing these decisions just to make your business sellable. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can make. If you rush these decisions and you try to sell your business too quickly, it can backfire. Your business can lose value and you can actually do damage. So make sure you're taking your time with these things. Okay, moving on to the 30 days before you sell. Now there's a big difference between making your business sellable and preparing the materials. A lot of people think this is one thing. There's 2 separate categories. So making your business sellable is moving your chess pieces around and making strategic moves so that your positioning is correct. Preparing your materials is taking an inventory of where all those pieces are and documenting it. The former takes a lot more time. The latter you can probably do in a week if you need to. So the goal of this step is really just to gather the necessary documents, information, and strategies so they're accessible on day 0. You want to make sure you're going into day 0. Remember, day 0 is just right here. It's the pivot from preparing to selling. You want to make sure that on day 0, you have all of these next 6 things ready to go so that you're not scrambling to provide responses to buyers, especially because a lot of these responses are going to be asked of you on calls. And you want to be prepared because these buyers are very good. They're very smart. And if you're not prepared, they're investing in you just as much as they're investing in the business. And they want to know that you're prepared because it's going to make them understand that the business is prepared as well for them to take over ownership. So this step is not hard. It takes between 7 and 30 days to prepare your business for sale. And the first thing you want to do here is you want to time your sale properly. So while yes, this is kind of rollover of the first step in making your business sellable, you want to make sure you're going to the market at a time that makes sense for you in your life. Now, I can't answer this for you. I can't tell you when the right time to sell your business is. There's personal reasons, there's career reasons, there's all different sorts of reasons that someone wants to sell their business. But if you time your sale properly, where you're selling into growth, you're going to do the best. So remember, growth is best when you're listing your business, if you can show growth over the last 6 to 12 months. Now, the next step here is to gather documents. The documents that we want to gather are financial statements. So we want to make sure that we have our revenue, expenses, net profit for as far back as we can get. And we want to make sure these are 100% accurate. So if you're not keeping up-to-date books, do this. Like go back and go through all your receipts, go through all your bank transactions, all your credit card transactions. Make sure that every single month you know exactly how much money you brought in, exactly how much money you spent, and exactly what your net profit is. Even further, you should know exactly how much you spent on each different category as well. Buyers are going to want to see that. They're not going to want to just see, hey, we made this much and we spent this much and this is our net profit. They want more than that. They want to make sure they know how much are you spending on ads? How much are you spending on payroll? How much are you spending on software and apps? Make sure you break it down into categories. Next thing you want to prepare here is an organizational chart. Now, an organizational chart tells two stories. The first story it tells is who's on your team and who reports to who. So it's you, CEO at the top, business owner, and then it's all of your managers and then all the people under them. It's a big branching tree. We've all seen one of those. But the much more important piece of this is that you want to make sure that on that org chart, you include a few different things, and I'll write them over here for you. So first, you want to make sure you include what they're paid. So they paid $30K a month each, or are they paid $5K a month each? Make sure that's included on the org chart. Next thing you want to do is their responsibilities. So what do they do day-to-day basis? So this matches up value with pay. And so you want to be able to effectively communicate that to a new buyer. What do they do? What are they paid? Next thing is, are there any bonuses or incentives? So are they paid revenue share? Are they paid a bonus every year? Do they have equity in the company? You want to make sure you write that down because that's very important to new buyers. They want to make sure that they know what the business expenses look like at scale. And so if at scale you have to pay someone more, that's something that you need to include in the organizational chart. Now, the next thing that you can or don't have to incorporate into your organizational chart are they willing to stay? So you got to make sure you have conversations with your employees before you sell your business, especially if they're key to the business. Are they willing to stay on with a new owner? Because this is the core of systems. Your people are your systems. So if your people are going to leave when there's a new owner, or if you're not sure if they're going to leave if there's a new owner, then you don't really have any systems. And remember, buyers buy systems. They're not just buying an empty bucket that they need to go and then fill with people, train the people to go and perform the business operations that make the business profitable. They want to buy the whole system. So you should probably have conversations with your employees, find out if they're willing to stay. If they are, you don't need to get it in writing, but you should probably just make sure they're on board with the sale first. All right, the next thing that a lot of people don't really talk about here is projections. So you want to do your best to project how the business is going to perform into the future. This gets buyers excited about the scalability of your business, and it gets them excited about the safety of your business. So if you can show that your business has grown 20% in the last year, and you project that it's going to grow another 20% into the future, gives the buyer a lot more confidence that they're buying an appreciating asset. And then finally, you want to make sure you document your SOPs. So your SOPs are everything that's in your brain that makes your business a business. And like I said in the last piece, if your business just exists here, it's not going to exist anywhere else. So you want to make sure anything that's in your brain that is key to running the business is written down somewhere. Now, it's really, really important that when you're gathering these things, you're not just handing these off to anyone that's interested in your business, right? You want to make sure you have a version for prospective buyers and a version of these things for the person that actually ends up buying your business. So you don't want to give away any sensitive information when you do this. You don't want to give away like your entire business plan. You can itemize your SOPs into categories and say, hey, we have SOPs for social media posting. We have SOPs for client onboarding. We have SOPs for, team meetings and an agenda for team meetings, team minutes, but you don't want to give them away until closing, right? So if there's any information that if someone gets a hold of, they could go and replicate your business, do not give it away to them until after closing. That's one big point here. So the next step here is you want to develop your pitch. Now, your pitch is what gets investors to buy. Your pitch is what turns your value into sales. So all of this stuff, the documents, the operations, is what gets investors excited. Your pitch is what gets investors to buy. Now, a good pitch has 4 elements here. It has a hero founder story. It talks about the market landscape. Is the industry growing? Have you gained market share in a growing industry? It gives an opportunity snapshot. So it's basically, hey, here's this great business. Here's the opportunity for it in the future. Here's why you should be excited about owning the business. And it also gives areas for growth. So you need to say, if I were going to own this business forever, I would plan on doing A, B, C to scale the business to make it 3x, 10x, 100x what it is today. Investors want to know that there's room to grow. They're not just buying your business because it produces X amount of cash flow per month. They're buying it because it's forward looking. They want to know that, hey, we can do all these things and we can 10x the business. So that's part of your pitch as well. So nailing your pitch down before you sell, documents and pitch down before you sell is going to be key to you when you sell. Okay, next thing on the list is you want to have employee discussion. So I mentioned this up here, but You want to make sure you have discussions with your employees. Ask them if they're willing to stay on with a new owner. Make sure that if they are, the new owner knows that. It's really powerful if you can go to a prospective buyer and say, hey, I have this great team. Here's what all of them do. Here's what all of them paid. They've all said they're willing to stay on with a new business. That is like the ideal case to make your business most valuable and most transferable to a new owner. Okay, next thing on the list here is you want to write down your ideal outcome and non-negotiables. Let's just do a quick list here. So in this bucket, there's a few things. So you want to make sure you know your valuation, your sticking points. So these are like your non-negotiables. You should have a number in your mind that I'm not letting this business go unless I get X amount valuation. Because when the fists are flying, and I don't mean that in a violent sense, but I mean that in a chaotic sense, right? So when you get all these offers and all this interest in your business, hopefully, you're going to get a ton of different valuations. And if you're not set on what you're okay with and what you're not okay with before you go into that process, it's a lot more easy for you to kind of bend with what the offers are and be okay with something a little bit lower than what you'd really like. So make sure you set your terms for valuation up front. Next one is deal structure. So are you okay with 50% cash at close? Are you okay with a seller note? Are you okay with being paid out some of the valuation over the course of 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years? You want to make sure you understand where you're at in terms of deal structure, because you're going to get a lot of different deal structures thrown at you most likely. You're going to get some earnouts. You're going to get some seller note offers. You want to make sure that you understand what your deal structure non-negotiables are. Consultancy period. So most buyers are going to want you to be a consultant for them for at least 30 to 90 days after the sale. Now, this sounds scary, but it's not, because most of the time what's going to happen is you're going to agree to be a consultant. They're going to call you once or twice. Most of those calls are going to be to get a confirmation code sent to your text for two-factor authentication to get into your accounts. And that's it. They might have 1 or 2 strategic questions that they ask you in this period, but a consultancy period is more for peace of mind of the buyer. So you need to decide whether you're okay being a consultant or staying on for 30 days or 60 days to make sure the transition goes smoothly. If at all possible, I'd encourage you to be okay with this, because a lot fewer buyers are going to be interested in your business if they know that you are gone on day one of them owning it. It's a lot better if you can kind of tell them that you're willing to be a consultant for X amount of time to make sure the business transfers smoothly. It's a lot better if you're able to do that. So you should have a vision of what you're okay with before you go to market on this as well. And then valuation range, this is baked into write down your ideal outcome and non-negotiables. So you want to make sure that you know what you're coming to the market with in terms of a deal, and you don't want to settle on anything lower than that valuation on that deal. So after you've done these things, after you've gathered all of this information and you've written down these strategies and you know what you're okay with, then it comes time to sell. And so we're rapidly approaching day 0 here. So in terms of time, making your business sellable takes the longest. It's probably going to take up the biggest chunk of this. Positioning your business and gathering materials takes less time, right? And then going to market is the shortest. Usually it's a couple days. Forgive my crazy drawings here, but typically this is what you see. The most time is spent on making your business sellable. And if you're sitting here and you say, Ben, my business is sellable, I've done all these things, then great, you're ready for step 2. You don't need to take 5 months if your business is already sellable. The second step usually takes a lot shorter time. And now this is just like you sitting with your team, you gathering documents. You could do this in a week if you really want to. And then bringing your business to market is just the final step here. We'll go over exactly what this takes. And usually this is the shortest. So the goals of bringing your business to market are to maximize 2 things. You want to strategically get your business on the market while maximizing distribution and confidentiality. So you guys are successful business owners, otherwise you wouldn't be at this point in the video. If you run a successful business, you know that business is all about distribution. You need to get your business in front of enough people to generate interest from your ideal clients to get the people to buy your stuff. So distribution applies to selling your business as well, even though you're only going to end up selling to one buyer. Confidentiality, the other side of the coin, you want to make sure that you're not giving away confidential information in the presentation of your business. You want to make sure you lock it all down. Secret sauce is your secret sauce until the day someone sends you the wire, until the wire hits your account. That's non-negotiable. I tell every seller that I work with, you do not give your customer list away. You do not give away your secret sauce. You do not give away your content. You do not let buyers into your accounts until they have wired you and the documents are signed. So how do we do all this? First step here is you want to choose your method for presentation. So there's a bunch of different ways to go about selling, like literally selling your business, finding people to buy. Now there's three main ways, and I'm going to recommend one of these highly above the other two. But you can go and send cold emails, and you can post in Facebook groups, and you can post on social media, and you can run ads even. You can run paid ads. You can go guerrilla marketing and try to find a buyer that way by yourself. You can avoid a success fee doing this. You can use a big listing platform like Flippa, where you pay Flippa to list your business, and they have an active network of 400,000 plus buyers that are waiting for deals like yours to hit the marketplace. They reach out to you. There's a built-in confidentiality process. There's built-in protocols to make sure that people are who they say they are and have the funds to buy your business before you even talk to them. Or you can find an independent broker, an investment banker who you hire. You probably are going to pay a 30K retainer, and then they're going to take 10% of your business proceeds when you sell, and they are going to be responsible for the guerrilla marketing that I mentioned in the first way. And so they are going to go reach out to businesses. They're going to reach out to search funds. They likely have their own built-in network that they're going to reach out to. So my recommendation, if you haven't guessed it already, is going to be to use a listing platform like Flippa. Now, the reason for this is because it simplifies the process and it takes so much off your plate. Keep in mind that you're going to pay a success fee if you do either one of these two. The only way you're going to avoid a success fee, which means someone taking a small percentage of your proceeds, is if you do it yourself. But this has like a 3% success rate, like really, really low success rate. You just going and marketing your own business, it really doesn't establish trust, right? Think about it. If you were to be approached by an independent seller saying, hey, this is my business, I want to sell it to you, you're probably just going to say, I'm not interested. The net isn't big enough that way. You don't really create a big enough net to get the right interest and to find the right buyer by doing it yourself. So like I said, there's going to be a success fee associated with using a listing platform or an independent broker. If you use Flippa, the success fee is going to be less than 10%. Other sites have higher success fees and also lower reach, which doesn't really make a ton of sense. So I would say use Flippa. And hiring an independent broker like an investment banker is an option if you have a really big business and you want to sell to one specific person. You establish a lot more trust by going through to independent broker. Really up to you. So what I do with my clients is I charge them a small retainer, and we use Flippa because they have the biggest network and the smallest success fee that you're going to find. So the next step here, if applicable, is you want to engage a representative. Now, it's important to keep in mind that running your business is a full-time job and selling your business is a full-time job. And you're not done with your business the day that you decide to sell, or the day you get an offer. You're done with your business the day that you get a wire and you signed the purchase agreement. So it's important that whatever business performance and scalability got your investor excited continues throughout the selling process. So if it doesn't continue, you're actually at risk of losing the deal. So you need to make sure that you have the bandwidth to continue running your business effectively, so that interest that the buyer initially had continues throughout the selling process. And keep in mind that this process takes another 30 to 365 days, depending on the size of your business and the complexity. You're going to have to maintain performance of your business throughout this entire process as well. And so if you have fluctuations in performance here, or even decreasing performance here, you're going to lose the deal. So you need to make sure that you have the bandwidth throughout this process to keep your business performance high while doing all these things to sell your business. And if you don't feel like you can do that, then you should engage a representative like someone on our team that's going to be able to run point on the listing process, on the selling process, talking to buyers, pitching buyers, and ultimately getting your business sold while you continue running it and continue doing all the things you need to do to keep your business afloat. Next step here is you want to prepare an NDA. So if you use a platform like Flippa, the NDA is built in. You want to make sure that every buyer is signing an NDA or a non-disclosure agreement before they learn anything about your business beyond 3 sentences of a pitch, including your business name, URL, and your identity. All of that stuff needs to be behind the NDA. Next step here is you want to determine screening protocols. You want to go into the selling process knowing who you're okay talking with. Are you okay talking with private equity firms? Do you not want to deal with private equity firms? Which I wouldn't blame you. Do you only want to talk to strategic buyers? Do you only want to talk to people who have verified their funds? Do you only want to talk to US buyers? Are you okay talking to international buyers? You should have those requirements at least thought out. And if you engage a representative, they can help you kind of strategize here. But you want to make sure you know who you're okay with talking to before you just get a ton of inflow and you get overwhelmed by lots of different people with lots of different backgrounds. Like I said, you can make sure that people verify their government ID. You can make sure they have certain cash levels, or you can require that they have financing pre-approved before they talk to you. All these things are good ways to minimize the number of conversations you're having and to boil down the list of conversations that you're having to only serious buyers. I want to build a listing. So if you're using Flippa, you want to make sure that you're spending time building a listing. Now, this is one of the things that my team can help with is we can build a listing that we know sells. We can list it from an account that has done 7 figures in deals. And that establishes a ton of trust and credibility. I'm not trying to pitch my services, not what this video is about, but when you're building a listing, you want to make sure that you include all the necessary details, all of the pitch. Remember, we went over form your pitch here. All this stuff goes into building your listing. And then your prospectus is basically a mirror reflection of your listing in a PDF form. So private equity buyers want to see a PDF. It's nuts. It's ridiculous, but they want to see a PDF. And so just make a PDF. Trust me, I've done enough deals. It's not worth trying to argue with them. It's actually kind of ridiculous. They all want a PDF. It's crazy. It's nuts. Anyway, this is the formula to preparing your business for sale. This is all the stuff you need to do leading up to day 0. And if it seems like a lot, it's really not a ton. It's mostly a lot of strategic planning and mindset orientation. Okay. So make your business sellable, prepare your materials, and then bring it to market. Very, very straightforward here. Simple, not easy. Remember, simple and easy are not the same thing. And then the fun part starts on day 0. You get to go and pitch your business to buyers who are interested in your business, hopefully, if you get enough interest. And yeah, that process is a beast itself. And I have a whole nother video on this if you want to go watch all the steps that you need to take after day 0 in order to get your business sold, the wire to hit your account, and for you to ride off into the sunset and go do whatever the heck you want to do with your life after you sell your business, which I should make a video on that as well. That's a whole other concept that a lot of people are not prepared for. What do I do when I don't have a business anymore? Crazy. Got a lot of money, but you don't have a business anymore. So what do you do? How do you transition? I should make a video on that as well. So thanks for watching. My name is Ben Zogby again. Appreciate you guys sticking around to the end of the video. Hopefully this was really helpful in terms of you getting to understand what you got to do before you sell your business. Please subscribe, like the video if I've earned it from you. And can't wait to see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.